Do y'all remember that episode of The Parkers where Hakeem from Moesha came to visit? The car broke down and the creepy mechanic started low-key stalking them? Yeah, let's get into it. Hello, I'm True Crime Queen, back with another video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And today we're getting into Season 4, Episode 9 of The Parkers. If y'all don't know, The Parkers is actually a spinoff of the show Moesha, and it ran from 1999 to 2004, and is centered on the mother-daughter duo Kim and Nikki Parker, who are both characters on the show Moesha. And they were enrolled in a community college at Santa Monica College in Santa Monica, California, where they navigate life, love, and all the hijinks that comes with it. So the episode starts out at the student union, where Kim and Nikki's friends, Stevie and Thaddeus, who goes by T, are sitting, and Kim comes over and says Hakeem got a new truck. Stevie says she's happy for him, which immediately upsets T since he and Stevie are dating and she used to date Hakeem briefly. Spoiler alert, their relationship doesn't last that long, in part due to his jealousy, which you'll see more of throughout the episode. Kim tells T not to hate since Hakeem offered to take all three of them to Las Vegas, Nevada. Nikki comes over and Kim tells her about the Vegas trip and asks if she wants to tag along, but Nikki declines, saying that she'll be playing poker with some of her other gal pals, which sets up the B plot for this episode. Then Professor Oglevee approaches and Nikki immediately begins flirting with him super aggressively. So if y'all are unfamiliar with the Parkers or Moesha, this aggressive flirtation is a common theme from the way Nikki and Kim's characters are written. On Moesha, Kim always came on way too strong to Hakeem.
Scoot over, Kim, and don't try nothing.
Oh, I'm not gonna try nothing. I'm gonna try something.
Though that behavior from her was not present in this episode when he comes back, or in the series as a whole, indicating that she grew up and grew out of it. But for Nikki's character, on the other hand, her obsession with Professor Oglevee on the Parkers is bold, relentless, and constantly over the top.
We'll be partners in the ballroom dance competition.
Oh, so you weren't cheating on me, boo? Me and Stanley? You got to be kidding me. Why don't you come to me first? I can dance.
I wouldn't dance with you if they were shooting bullets at my feet. Get out.
She always schemes, flirts, and does whatever she can to get his attention, even making a key to his apartment and always running off his love interest, which became a recurring gag on the show. Back then, this behavior was played for laughs, likely because Nikki and Kim were women and their targets were men, but today that same relentless attention would probably be seen as stalking or harassment, and rightfully so. So now we're at Kim and Nikki's apartment, where Kim is setting up the poker table for her friends later, and Kim comes out from her room with her bags packed for Vegas. Nikki, seeing her 3 bags, jokingly asks if she's moving to Vegas. Now, I'm known to be a bit of an overpacker, but I don't think that looks like too much for this weekend, cause hey, a girl needs options. Then Stevie and T arrive, who are still arguing about the trip with Hakeem. But Stevie reassures him that he's the only one that she wants, and they appear to make up, but then T ruins the moment by saying this.
Are you out of breath?
Then Hakeem arrives. He greets Stevie by spinning her around and telling her how good she looks, which upsets T all over again. And honestly, the way this episode is written, it makes it seem like T is tripping over Hakeem, but honestly, I'm not mad at him, at least at this point, because it's already kind of awkward that they're going on a road trip with his ex just because he got a new truck. Because if you think of it, what the hell does that have to do with anything? Like, I get that they're cool and cordial or whatever, but why do we need to go on a road trip? But then again, if they thought like that, we wouldn't have this episode. Stevie and T continue to argue when Hakeem interrupts them to tell the group his car rules, which were no eating, no drinking, and definitely no sleeping in his car.
Why no sleeping? I don't want you drooling all over my plastic slip covers.
They then get ready to leave, and Kim only grabs her purse, leaving the rest of the group to get her bags for her. Now we're in Hakeem's truck, where we see he's doing entirely too much, and Kim asks why he's wearing a wool hat and scarf during 90-degree heat.
My child, style knows no temperature.
And I hope it knows deodorant.
Also, if you notice, Kim is in the back with T, and Stevie is sitting up front with Hakeem, looking like a whole couple. When T asks her if she would rather sit in the back with Kim and let him ride in the front with Hakeem, Kim says no since Stevie talks too much.
Hakeem and I haven't seen each other in a while. We have a lot of catching up to do. Hey, remember that movie we saw that time? I'm trying to think of the name of it.
Oh, what you know?
Catching Up?
Still.
Honestly, I think T has every right to call Stevie out on her behavior since she's being way too familiar. T insists that Stevie sit in the back with Kim, and Hakeem interrupts and asks if there's a problem. And Stevie finally asks Hakeem to pull over for her to get in the back with Kim. In the next scene, we're back at Nikki and Kim's apartment with Andel, Nikki's best friend, also another character from Moesha, Gertie, Nikki's other friend, and their friend Destiny, where their poker game is getting really intense even though they're only playing for a few dollars and the women get hustled by destiny. Then Gertie asks flirtatiously if Professor Oglevee had asked about her. Nikki, who is delusional and thinks the professor is her man, threatens her to back off.
Is that cute little professor still asking about me? Ask about my man one more time, Gertie, and you're gonna lose more than your money.
Now we're back in Hakeem's bride, where we hear a suspicious crunching sound, which is Kim eating goldfish. This causes Hakeem to angrily slam on brakes and use his small vacuum to clean up the crumbs she spilled. I mean, that is annoying if someone openly disrespects your car rules, but stopping in the middle of the highway is just downright dangerous and absurd and honestly dumb as hell. Hakeem then turns up the radio, and Stevie compliments him on his sound system, which he says are top of the line. T says they sound muffled and tells Hakeem to keep his eyes on the road. Hakeem says he knows what he's doing, and T says, I know what you're doing too, and it's not gonna work, referring to his flirtatious behavior with Stevie. Hakeem says that if he's that uncomfortable, then he shouldn't have come, which is honestly valid, because if your significant other wants to go out of town with her ex that bad, he can keep him. So he and Hakeem start getting into it, and he threatens to put T out of the car. T says he'll get out, but Stevie will go with him, which she quickly says she's not getting out with him. Then the car starts slowing down, and Stevie tells Hakeem not to pull over, but Hakeem says he's not slowing down, that the car is doing that on its own. T says he knew the car was a piece of junk as the vehicle had started making louder noises. Now we're in the next scene where the group is pushing the car into a repair shop. T says to Hakeem that he thought he said his car was new. Hakeem said the car was new in 1995. Mind you, this episode aired in 2002, so even back then it was nowhere near new. Hakeem says they likely would have already been in Vegas by this point if they hadn't taken T's shortcut. Just then a man named Louie comes out, and Hakeem tells him that the car won't start, and asks if there's anyone around who can help them. The man says they're a little backed up even though there's no one else around, but he looks at Kim and says, for a cute little lady like you, I can squeeze you in. He then says he can fix the car, and T asks if there's anywhere around that they can get something to eat. Louis then points them to a restaurant which is apparently attached to the mechanic shop, and then he starts acting even weirder.
Pretty and smart. I love you.
So they head inside the little diner, which immediately gives horror movie vibes. First of all, there's no one else there, no customers, or even any staff. Everything's gross and abandoned looking, and even when they open the menus, dust flies out. Like, who would even eat here? Then Louis the mechanic comes out, dressed in an apron and paper hat, and says, welcome to Louie's Diner, I'm Louie, your waiter. After the four of them put their orders in with Louie, he then tells them it's actually too bad because he's out of everything they just ordered. And he says, 4 orders of toast coming up. In the next scene, we're back at Nikki and Kim's apartment, where they're still playing their poker game, and it's down to Gertie and Nikki. Nikki turns her head for a quick second to tell Andel where the dip is, and she turns back around and catches Gertie pulling a card out of her bra, basically cheating. And things get heated. Turns out Gertie was actually cheating the whole time, and she and Nikki start wrestling behind the couch. All the commotion causes Professor Oglevee, who lives below them, to run upstairs and see what's going on since the noise interrupted his yoga, apparently. After they let go of each other, Nikki asks the professor to join them, but he declines. Then Andel taunts him, saying he's just scared that the women will take all of his money. After they all call him chicken, he finally shuts the door and gets ready to join them. Now we're back at the diner where Stevie, Kim, Hakeem, and T have finished their hearty meals of burnt toast when the bill finally comes out. Hakeem offers to pay before T insists until he reads the bill.
$89.99? You can treat?
Naturally, they refuse to pay, and Louis the chef tells them they can just take it up with the sheriff, which they all agree. He then goes to get the sheriff, which shockingly is just Louis with the badge and the sheriff hat. Finally, Louis says the truck is fixed and ready and it'll be $2,500. Of course, they don't have that kind of money, and Hakeem says the truck didn't even cost that much. Louis then threatens to get the sheriff again and says he won't be happy since he's on break or whatever. The group then tells Kim to flirt with Louis since he was crushing on her earlier. Kim asks if they can work something out, which takes us to the next scene, and we see T, Stevie, and Hakeem cleaning the diner while Kim is relaxing and reading a magazine. T tells Kim that she needs to trick Louis into telling them where the keys are and distract him long enough until they can all get back to the car. Just then, Louis comes back in, and Kim tells him to give them the keys so she and him can have some alone time. Louis then quickly throws Hakeem the keys, and he, Stevie, and T run outside. Louis then gets straight to the point, telling Kim he's desperately been waiting for a woman like her, and really just a woman in general, as he unbuttons his mechanic suit. Kim says she left her bag in the truck and tries to get away, and and Louis says he can't let her leave, which definitely was kidnapping, and this dude should have been locked up. Also, Hakeem, Stevie, and T ain't shit for leaving Kim alone with this crazy man. I mean, I get that this is just a sitcom, but in real life, she would have been in some serious danger. Louis says he can't let her go until they kiss first, but Kim says she can't kiss him because his lips are dry. Louis said he had some lard in the back and he can use that. Like, ew. Seeing her chance, Kim quickly leaves the diner and runs towards the truck. Just as Louis comes out, with this gross, greasy looking yellow lard on his lips, he says he's ready for that kiss, and all he hears is the tire squealing as the group leaves. But apparently this isn't the only time that this has happened, because Louis says this.
I fall for that every time.
Anyways, now it's later and we're back at the poker game, and Professor Oglevee is celebrating because he thinks he has a great hand, only to lose to Nikki. Wanting to win his money back, he says he wants to play one more hand. Since he's out of money, Gertie suggests that they play strip poker since he's not out of clothes. The professor shoots this down, saying he doesn't want to see Gertie naked. Ouch. Nikki grabs Gertie by the hair and tells her to slow her roll because her man's body is for her eyes only. But like I said earlier, they're only dating in Nikki's mind. And the professor tells her twice that he's not her man. He then vows that he will not lose again. Cut to a few seconds later, and the professor is in the hallway with no clothes on, holding 2 pillows to cover up his manhood and his booty as the women cheer and scream. Next, Kim, Stevie, Hakeem, and T are back at Kim's apartment, and Hakeem apologizes to the group that they never made it to Vegas and says he would start heading home. He gives Stevie a hug, and T gives him an evil stare as he heads out to walk downstairs with Kim. T then apologizes to Stevie for the way that he's been acting, and Stevie then tells T that they should break up because she feels smothered by him and doesn't want to ruin their friendship, and he doesn't trust her.
Look, if we continue dating, I'm just gonna end up strangling you. I mean, you don't even trust me.
Why, what have you been up to?
T seems stunned by this at first, but then he admits to acting crazy over her. He then asks if they can be friends with benefits, and Stevie just laughs as she leaves, and T chases behind her, demanding to know if that's a yes or a no. We've now made it to the last scene of the episode, and Kim and Nikki are folding laundry on the dining room table for some reason, and Kim sees a pair of boxers and asks Nikki about them. Nikki quickly says it's nothing and snatches them from her. Kim then says it looks like the professor's underwear. Nikki asks why she would say that, and Kim says it's because his name is in them. Kim offers to put them in the drawer in Nikki's room with the rest of the things that she has of his. And that's the end of the episode. So The Parkers is easily one of my favorite shows. It's super nostalgic, funny, and honestly a comfort show. But it's also a product of its time, which can be sometimes problematic. Case in point, the way that the show handles the dynamic between Professor Oglevee and Nikki is played for laughs. Nikki's chasing him, making keys to his apartment, collecting his things, calling him her man, even after he repeatedly says that he's not. The audience laughs and then we just move on. But it's honestly a textbook example of an unhealthy fixation. And by the end of the episode, she literally has a drawer full of his underwear and other personal items. And the reason it worked comedically at the time is because the dynamic was flipped. Nikki is a woman pursuing a man, but if the roles were reversed and a male character had a drawer full of a woman's belongings, making a key to her apartment and refused to accept no for an answer, we would just call it what it is, which is stalking. It's interesting because in the same episode, Louis the mechanic is clearly portrayed as creepy and dangerous. The tone shifts, we're supposed to feel uncomfortable, but Nikki's behavior is almost identical in pattern, just played for laughs instead of suspense. That contrast says a lot about how sitcoms in the late 90s and 2000s treated boundaries, especially when it came to women pursuing men. Now, does this mean the show is bad? No, it just means the culture has evolved. What we laughed at back then, we just analyze differently now. Even T's distrust and jealousy over Stevie is played for laughs in a sitcom, but situations like these can honestly turn into something way more serious. That's exactly why revisiting these episodes is so interesting. But anyways, let me know what y'all think of this episode. Please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Love you, bye!